Welcome back. Chris Haskell with They Live by Film. Thanks for anybody who saw the first video on Working Class Goes to Heaven, which will be in the channel somewhere below. I don't know, people are always pointing on YouTube. It's going to be here somewhere. It's that one. That's the one I talked about. If you like the video, if you like this video, like, subscribe, whatever, all that stuff. Okay, so want to talk to you about the second release from Radiance Films today, which is Spy Number 12. I talked a little bit about this on the first video, but look, it's a startup, right? And sometimes you go to print with spy numbers, and this was going to be the 12th release, and due to production concerns and just the natural flow of things, this got made first. And so it's that between that, and then Franz also publicly said that this was just a film that he felt was an exciting first release, and so he just bumped it up in the release order, but it technically is Spy 12. Of course, we're talking about Big Time Gambling Boss. So very excited about this movie, to talk about the movie, not only the release, the artwork, features, all that, which we'll get into, but also the context around what was happening in Japan at this time, or at least in the film side of Japan, and where this movie fits, because it's a really interesting movie. You know, we talk a lot about in the slasher genre, for those that follow slashers, you know, we talk a lot about proto slashers, right? The movies that kind of led to slashers. And in a lot of ways, I think this is a proto kind of a Fukusaku movie. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. You know, I don't know if Kosaku Yamashita is a household name to y'all. To me, he wasn't. But certainly this film caught my attention for two reasons. One, the writer is Kazuo Kasahara, which is going to be a writer of these Battles Without Honor and Humanity films. So I'll get into that in just a second. And then second is one of the actors in the movie is an extremely famous Japanese actor, Tomo Saburo Wakayama, who plays the Lone Wolf of Lone Wolf and Cub, amongst, you know, hundreds of roles. I mean, very popular actor. But these are some of my favorite movies. Well, these are some of my favorite movies. So extremely happy and excited when I saw this release come out, to see what would be on a release from those two. That might fall. We'll see. Okay, Big Time Gambling Boss, Spy Number 12, 2 through 11 are coming. Don't worry. But we have, I think the theme of the last video, and I'll try to continue it on, is I don't have like a rating system. I'm not gonna say like this is a 9 out of 10, this is a must buy, you know, whatever. I hope to give you with these videos a sense of, is it something you would like? So, you know, I'll do my best to explain what I think about the film and why I like it or don't, in some cases, but hopefully give you enough other context around that so you can make a decision for yourself. First of all, the thing that I called out last time, and I want to say again, is the simplicity of the design from Radiance Films, and this one to me is just like one of the best examples of that. So, you know, again, we kind of talked about how it's with the British rating system. You know, they have to. Fran was able to find a creative way to get these releases out to where you can remove the rating if you don't want it on the sleeve or the artwork. But he did something else here, which I really love. So if you take this out, look how simple and effective this is. It's such a cool, I just love that he's thought through, you know, opening it up and kind of looking at the whole artwork. Beautiful. I really love it. It's so simple. Lone Wolf there, Wakayama, what a badass. And that's really, the film's really about him. But just, I don't know, I loved it. This is, as always, he has reversible artwork. So, you know, you can kind of get a sense of what that looks like there. You know, on most people that have any kind of DVD or Blu-ray, there's special features and like a little blurb about the movie. And so he's done that inside. So you can, if you want that, you can obviously reverse it. But on the outside, it's just a very simple, beautiful look on the film. As you can see there, Spine 12, not 2. Okay, so then I don't know what it is. I like these. I'm going to keep that in here. I like the way they look. I think that's a very elegant look, even with the rating. Also included in the film, or in the release, I mean, I should say. I talked about this last time as well, but here you can see how the red, what's on the sleeve inside, matches the disc so far, 2 for 2. So it's, he's really very thoughtful. Fran is very thoughtful about the way that he puts these together aesthetically, which is nice. And in this case, there's a booklet as well. So let's see if he calls out the page number. No, he doesn't specifically here. It must be more of a standard booklet, 26-page booklet still. The stories in this book are fascinating, and I'll get into that just in just a second. It's a very excellent book, simple. And in this release, he actually included art cards as well. So that's nice. There's, 6 or 7 art cards in here. So I don't know if anybody puts in comments, what do you do with an art card? I like that they're in the releases. It feels like it's something that a lot of people like putting in. They just kind of sit in the disc for me. I don't know. I'd be okay if that weren't included, although it's kind of fun to have. I don't know what to do with them. Oh, supplements. So there's a brand new visual essay created by Chris D, who's he's popped up on a ton of supplements over the years for a variety of Japanese and well, I think Japanese movies especially, but I think in general a lot of boutique companies use him. There's one called Ninkyo 101, a masterclass of Mark Schilling, author of the Yakuza movie book. There's a booklet with Stuart Galbraith IV and Haley Scanlon, writings by them, reversible sleeve. Oh, I forgot to mention this last time, but this one is limited to 2,000 copies with all this stuff in it. And then he's confirmed he's going to have a standard release on the back end. So that's the release. Okay, so yeah, I've kind of mentioned this already. The writer, Kazuo Kasahara, he was already an established writer in the Japanese system. He had not yet broken out into these movies. So, quick plug for these movies. I would not recommend going and trying to find this specific set if you don't have it, but the movies you can buy separately or watch maybe even on the Arrow player. I'm not sure, but these movies are amazing. The lazy thing to say, I think a lot of people say it's all the Japanese Godfather series. I kind of understand. I mean, I get it. Like it's a crime mafia film, set in Japan. There's really no comparison to the Godfather films. I mean, other than the inner workings of a crime family, I guess, if you want to take it at that level. But what Kosaku did, starting in 1971, I'm pretty sure, 70 or 71, what he did with Kazuo Kasahara was take true stories from Japan or just a general sentiment of what was happening in post-war Japan and why crime families were so rampant in post-war Japan and build a story around it. And kind of created a genre almost of these types of films that were felt very close to real life, based in crime, based on the Yakuza network and structure and the rituals and everything that goes into kind of being a part of the Yakuza in the 1900s. But these movies just bring like a rawness and an energy and a passion. I mean, the very first 5 minutes or 10 minutes of the movie, it's jarring because it's just so much going on and it's chaos. And it doesn't ever fully slow down, but it does get a little bit more measured as it goes. Love these movies. Now, 3 years before that, Big Time Gambling Boss comes out. The Japanese title, if anybody can help me, I wasn't able to find, and sorry if my researching skills suck. The Japanese title is Bakuchuchi, which I assume is going to mean, best I can tell, it's something to do with the gambling portion of this, like the gambling boss or something to do with like that part is there. But then the subheading after that is Socho Tobaku. And I don't know, I couldn't really find an easy translation for that. So if anybody knows, that would be awesome. It doesn't seem like it translates directly to Big Time Gambling Boss. So I'd be interested in seeing what the Japanese, translation was, the original kind of intent of the title was. But this movie follows, it is a Yakuza movie. It is a movie about crime families. The thing that I think is interesting about this versus the Honor Without, Battles Without Honor and Humanity series, or Cops and Thugs, which is here, which is another Fukasaku film, or the Lone Wolf series, which is maybe, a couple hundred years prior, also about a little bit more about like a Ronin, like I guess a samurai without a master. So it's not really as much around the Yakuza, although gambling is a portion of that. So there's kind of a tie. Gambling plays a huge role in the Lone Wolf series. So maybe there's a tie there. But anyways, what's different about this is it is not at all a Fukasaku movie. Okay, so don't expect that same level of energy. If that's what you wanted out of Big Time Gambling Boss, you'll be disappointed. It is not anything like tone or feel. Music is very different. The way the framing is done is very different. There's a patience in the shots that is very different from a Battles Without Honor Humanity movie, or really any Fukasaku movie in general. This plays like, I don't know if Douglas Sirk is the right word or the right exact comparison, but imagine if there's a crime movie that really hones in on the way that the families, the inner politics, and the way that family members are taking sides, and the way that they're kind of very Machiavellian in the way that they form alliances, and sneaky, you know, in the way that they try to undercut certain folks and keep people out. And it's much more focused on the inner workings of the families and the way that they are engaged, as opposed to what would be some of these films where they have that element for sure, but it's really about the violence and the energy and the craziness and the maybe a lot of times there's like a political message underneath about the, you know, futile nature of it all, or, you know, something. This film certainly has a nihilistic angle to it, but just the way that it feels is much more patient. It lets you, it's almost like a melodrama. Let me just say it that way. It feels much more like a melodrama. And it plays like a melodrama, which makes sense. I mean, it was made in '68, probably coming out of a, you know, a tradition of melodrama. So, you know, I would say I was caught off guard at first, and I was about to make this, when I was thinking about making this video, I was trying to figure out how to talk about the movie if I didn't like it, because I want to try to support Radiance Films and try to be nice to them because I love the work they're doing. But then about the halfway mark, it shifted for me. Lone Wolf, so Wakayama has his character, the way that he engages is that he's an outsider within the family, although he's a part of the family. He acts very different, and he's very brash, and he just kind of breaks down doors. He's like a bull in a china shop within, you know, all the other family members that are trying to be very structured and polite and formal in the way that they talk about the family members and the way that they engage with each other and talk about the future. And he's like, y'all, I just got out of jail. Screw y'all. I have a bigger role in the family. And he comes in and he's really a powerful force in the movie. And I think his scenes are the best. Although I will say by the third act, by the end of the movie, this whole exchange between all the characters just kind of breaks down, and you do get to see how unstructured it is, even though it's, you know, it starts off as being much more about not wanting to offend and what is he going to think and how's, you know, the boss going to think. This is it takes on and really shows, I think, how unnecessary and you know, meaningless all of the politics, the inner politics are, and ultimately how it's not worth getting into the life of crime because it just ends in death and pain and struggle. So I did end up liking it. I wouldn't say loving it, but I did end up liking it, and I'm very happy to have seen it. And I think it's the, as a historical land kind of timepiece, I think it's fascinating knowing that this came out just a few years before the Battle series, because those were so explosive in kind of every way. So really, you know, it was cool to see the history, or this place in Japanese film history, I should say. And honestly, I think if you are, you know, debating based on supplements, which I don't know how many people would decide that strictly based on supplements, but the Ninko 101, a masterclass by Mark Schilling, is a hell of an interview. It's very good. The guy really knows his stuff. And so the visual essay by Christie is interesting. I just personal attention span and stuff, I struggle to really kind of follow visual essays for long. There's, you know, it's a trend and I get it, and some of them are masterfully done. I don't know, for some reason, my ADD kicks in and I struggle with it. But there's still really good content from Christie. He knows his stuff for sure. So great special features all around. The booklet has some really interesting historical context for what's going on. Yeah, I mean, to me, this is one that I probably would be on the fence about buying, but I'm glad I own it, and I will eventually get to all the supplements. um, and have, just kind of tie this Japanese film world together, right? I mean, I think if nothing else, I'm fascinated by that angle. Um, and yeah, I think I'm glad I own it. Let me say that. It's not necessarily like a glowing endorsement, but um, I my the style of movies that I like are very closely aligned with this and this. I like the energy. I like the chaos. I like the creativity and kind of pushing the boundaries. This feels a little bit to me like the reason I don't enjoy 50s movies from Hollywood. I don't love melodrama, and this one is a little bit heavier on that. So I think maybe it took me a little bit longer to get into, but still a good melodrama as opposed to a boring one or a bad one, and one that I ultimately enjoyed. So um, you'll know if you love melodrama and you don't mind subtitles. Big Time Gambling Boss is the easiest buy I would ever recommend. Um, and good luck if you watch it. If you've already seen it and you think I'm an idiot and you disagree completely, tell me. I'd love to see other thoughts on this. And if anybody does like visual essays a lot and wants to tell me that Chris Dees is the best one, I'd also love to hear that. I found it interesting, but my attention was kind of wavering, like I said, so I'd love to hear on that. But yeah, look, thanks for sticking around if you have, and I hope to see you in the comments.